I'm an under the weather and oddly Peter Brady sounding Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Evan Novi Williams, and this is the Dreams Really Do Come True sports business podcast, the Sporticast.
First of all, Steve Hogan, CEO of Florida Citrus Sports. Did you understand the Peter Brady reference?
I did not.
Oh my God! I thought for sure you were going to get it. I was going to make fun of Eben, Peter when his voice began to change on the Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch.
There was a great song. It was like, when it's time to change, you've got to rearrange who you are and what you're gonna be. Come on, everybody, sing it with me.
That's awesome. Now I got it. I'm with you.
Normally, Eben doesn't get my references, but I thought I had you on my side.
Yeah, I'm very happy that I'm not the only one that missed the old time.
I want to see, by the way, Eben, I'm going to let you take this one first here, but I want to see how far we can go without anybody forcing a Pop-Tart reference. I'll say it right at the top. How far can we go without a forced Pop-Tart reference? And by the way, I'm a big fan of the Pop-Tart. Long before this came to college, I was a loyal customer. Strawberry frosted is the only way to go. I don't accept any other substitute. Strawberry frosted.
You're not a s'mores guy, Scott?
No, absolutely not. Strawberry frosted is the only thing I will. But, I mean, I see it.
The
It's
OG.
almost there's like a Pavlovian response. If I see the box, I really.
Right out of the wrapper? Or you got?
Toasted. Yeah, right out of the wrapper. Untoasted.
This is blasphemy.
Am I doing this wrong, Eben? You tell me.
I think you are, yeah. I think.
All right, go. Give me some sports stuff. Give me some sports business.
Well, we're very excited to have Steve Hogan on. Steve is the CEO of Florida Citrus Sports, organizer of two bowl games. And if you are watching us on video, you will see both trophies behind him, the Pop-Tarts Bowl and the Cheez-Its Citrus Bowl. Steve, I feel like, and I want to get into the Pop-Tart stuff right at the front, because the most viral moment of the bowl season last year came in the aftermath of the Pop-Tarts Bowl with the edible mascot and the internet doing its thing from there. Take me back to last year when you guys were planning that. Was it clear in the room, oh, this thing is going to be a viral sensation? Did it surprise you? Did it catch you off guard? Walk us through what happened in the lead up and then in the aftermath of last year's Pop-Tarts Bowl.
No, it totally did. I wish I could just straight face lie and be, oh, we foresaw all of this happening. This was totally planned. But, it's their first foray into sports sponsorship too. Pop-Tarts hadn't done this before. So, college football bowl game. And they're just super creative. We're super open. Everybody's sitting around a table going, what can we come up with? And they and their agency kind of said, hey, what if we could eat the mascot? What if there's an edible mascot? And it all sounded great. And it was going
I love that. That's great creative right there.
And you just kind of don't pay attention, right, for a while in my chair. All the marketing folks are meeting in there every other week. And, it starts to get about 10 days out from the game. And you're doing interviews like this, and people are asking you, so how's this going to go? You're going to eat the mascot? Is an edible mascot? What's going to happen? And immediately you just freak out. You panic. You're like, how will this go? I actually haven't heard how we're going to consume this thing. But, sure enough, I mean, it's just movie mad. He lowers himself into the toaster. He's got the sign, dreams really do come through. He's tossing that thing out, and out pops, Strawberry, the OG, right? Scott out of the bottom, and the team consumes them completely. It looks like it was totally a body. It's a murder scene on the field, and it just worked. And it struck a chord. I think people just want to have fun, right? I mean, it's a good football game, and these are serious teams. These are highly ranked teams, and that's part of it. But I think people just want to have fun in the postseason, and this, I think, allowed people to have a little bit of fun with it. It's a brand and a pastry that we all maybe in some ways grew up with, and so I just think it built on this, it latched on this entire following that really was not a college football fan to begin with, and that made it fun for all of us.
So I've seen some data at one of the SBJ college conferences recently. Pop-Tarts executive gave some numbers about how big the sales were. I think it was 21 million more sales in the 8 weeks after the game than the 8 weeks before the game. But for you guys, what are the tangible business benefits you've seen from having that viral moment and the halo effect really for 12 months? And we can talk about the trophy and all that as well. But I'm curious how the viral Pop-Tart changed the Pop-Tarts Bowl's commercial opportunities as well.
Well, I mean, I never thought we would be doing a trailer with Jerry Seinfeld at all as a brand, for Uncrusted or whatever, it's Unfrosted or whatever. It's totally cool. I mean, that you find yourself in this space. But I think it demonstrates the power of these opportunities from a brand perspective if you allow yourself to open your mind up to it, right? The football is great. The ratings are great. We're going to get a few million people, but you're talking billions the trophy reveal just a week ago, I think, has already generated over 1.6 billion impressions. And it just, again, I think that these are stages that you can kind of perform on, if you will, and create this whole other fandom around the brand and the concept if you allow yourself just to be creative and have fun with it. And that, I think it shows the rest of the big brands out there that are looking to partner with an organization that we can do it. We have done it. We've had a lot of them over the years, a lot of Fortune 500 brands, and it's certainly fun when you can eat them. Cheez-It and Pop-Tarts make that. No offense, we've had financial services, we've had all of them, right? They're all great. But it's certainly fun when the players in some way have an opinion, and the teams and the players are all into it. They're like, oh, this is my favorite flavor. No, this is my favorite. This is how I eat them. And I just think all of that just works, and it demonstrates for brands out there that we're the kind of organization that is going to lean into this more than we're going to resist.
Are there ideas that you've tossed out? I mean, are there crazy ideas that either these sponsors or other sponsors have come to you with that you?
What got rejected?
That's too far.
I don't want to say exactly, but yes, there's been not necessarily with Pop-Tarts, but there've been a few other brands that it's just we just can't do that. There's no way. I mean, they wanted to, somebody had, and I'm not going to say it was either of these two, had some wild ideas about, kind of coin tosses and different ways to do that and all kinds of crazy things that just, to me, again, it's all fun to be creative, but at some point you got to draw the line because it's just, this isn't going to be accepted into the college football world. But other than that, it's been pretty fun to dream, and most things have gotten across the bar of allowable, let's just say.
Well, Steve, I'm not going to ask you about which is your favorite child, but like you said, you do have the Citrus Bowl and Cheez-It. Now, I mean, you got to be a little envious. I mean, the Pop-Tarts getting all the love. Like, is Cheez-It sitting there going, what about us, and what are we doing?
Same company, too.
Yeah. It is. That's the thing.
The brand, I know the overall parent company's happy, but the brand's got to be like, what about us?
Yeah, there's no question. There's some, you have two different brand teams, and they're both great. I mean, I personally love Cheez-It, right? And in our household, we got Snapped. We got all the different versions, love it to death. And they were here first, and they have been amazing nonetheless. And you got to love the commercials with the cheese wheel still, right? I mean, I woke up feeling the cheesiest coach. I mean, this just put me in. This is awesome. And I think these two brands have had a lot of fun. There's no question that Pop-Tarts has gotten a lot of shine, and I can't speak to how their household is around the Christmas tree here in terms of getting along with each other, but as far as we're concerned, we're pinching ourselves for being just lucky to have, I think, the two best. And but Pop-Tarts have a lot of fun with it of late. I'll give them that.
I'll tell you a fun story that happened to me this week. I was on the phone with Gary Stokin, the CEO of the Peach Bowl, and we were talking about what they have planned. And he goes, quote, "We're going to rappel a cow from the top of the stadium for the game ball." So he tells me that, and I'm like, whoa, interesting. Wow, repelling a cow. Okay, so we keep talking, whole thing. And then a couple minutes later, I'm like, can we go back to the cow for a second? Like, you're going to put a harness on a 3,000-pound animal? Like, what's going on here? And he was like, no, I mean a human in a cow costume. And I was like, oh.
Thank God we didn't write that.
But to me, yeah, I think the in some ways the creativity and in some way the absurdity of a lot of the bowl games have gotten to the point for me that I'm like, oh yeah, sure, of course, a cow's going to be dropped from the top of Mercedes-Benz Stadium to the field to deliver the game ball. I am curious, Steve, how you feel about the fine line between gimmick and creativity, right? And you don't want to do too much of this stuff, I imagine, because at some point the virality will turn probably. But how do you think about kind of towing that line properly?
Yeah, I think honestly that it's a good point because you think about it a lot, and you don't want to cheapen the game, in any way. I mean, this it is a heck of a football game. We have 4 ranked teams, as I said. You got a Heisman Trophy finalist playing in our Pop-Tarts Bowl, and they're here to put on a show and introduce themselves in the NFL in a different way, hopefully, and all that. So, but you can have fun. Timeouts, TV timeouts. There's different things out and around the edges. I know last year our Pop-Tart mascot was out there dancing a little bit and having some fun with the game official. I thought we were starting to get in there and blur the line a little bit. and so, you got to back a few things off a little bit. But, for the most part, you want to leave what's happening inside, the box, if you will, with the players and the teams and the coaches and their job that they have to do and kind of respect that. But at the same time, have fun out and around that with the fans, both in the stadium and on camera. I think if you can do that, you'll be fine.
We are chatting with Steve Hogan, the CEO of the Florida Citrus Sports. And Steve, I don't think people understand sort of the overarching mission of the organization. Maybe clue people in as to like, it's not just to put on one bowl game, two bowl games. It's really to attract people to the region, to the area. Just sort of give us the overarching 30,000-foot view of what the organization does.
Yeah, we've been blessed. We're kind of unique in this space. I mean, college football's postseason is an important part of our business, but it's a part of our overall business. We're a sport and entertainment company. We're a nonprofit by tax status. It's not a business philosophy. I mean, we very much need to generate revenue to put back into the mission, and that mission is putting people in hotel rooms and turning on TV sets around the world if you can. And we do that through, we're next year will be 80 years in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl's history. So one of the 7 oldest games in the land, but we do the largest HBCU game in the country, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, historically black college game in the Florida Blue Florida Classic earlier in the year. We have Pop Warner Super Bowl National Championship, 15 million gross in terms of revenue in 1 week. It's a big business, thousands, and we had 27,000 room nights in there for that. We managed Manchester City's tour last year. We played games in Yankee Stadium, Columbus, Ohio, at Ohio State, in Chapel Hill and Orlando, Man City, Barcelona. We did Real Madrid before that, and Chelsea and Arsenal. So, our business there is pretty robust. We have soccer in the summer. We're also the primary tenant here at Camping World Stadium, which doesn't have a pro or a college tenant. So think of us like you would a pro tenant. We own the naming rights, the corporate partnerships, the premium, the suites. So we monetize this building both through music, sports, entertainment throughout the year, and so it's a busy business. It's a fun business. We take a lot of risk. We do these things all over the country, but home is Orlando, and most of those things that we're doing around the country, around the globe, are meant to land one of those big pieces here in our city, and they do.
Yeah, you talked about we take a lot of risk, and talk to us, how do you mitigate that risk? On the risk scale, what is the riskiest thing you do?
Well, I mean, I'd say, when you're sliding, $10, $15 million on the table to bring a team from international soccer waters, across the pond over for 4 or 5 matches, you're hoping that ticket sales, a little bit of lower level sponsorship, and some small media dollars for the most part, by the time you do those media deals around the globe, they're not the biggest piece. Tickets are. You're hoping that you're good enough at that, you've understood, you've done enough of it, you've got enough data and detail to say that if I'm going to be wrong, it's not a fatal flaw, but it'll be a couple of bruises here and there. We'll get back into it again next year. So, if we ring the bell from an economic impact standpoint, we've done our job. But for the most part, you are risking a lot of resources and revenue potential on those matches. So, and we do that across the board. We have NFL Pro Bowl here in the 1st of February. There's always some level of a deal there. We're in regular discussions to potentially host the NFL Jaguars here in 2027 as they get displaced from their season.
Oh, hold on, Steve. Just so you know, I got to jump in. Eben Novy-Williams, an ardent Jaguars fan.
Awesome.
An ardent Jaguars fan, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we hope we have some success with that. We'll have a place for you to sit, ready for you to go. But
that would be great.
So, it is what it is. I mean, in neutral site business, that's what we are. Whether it's a touring business, whether it's a festival that's hosted here on campus, not necessarily in the bowl, in the music space, it's college football kickoff game, NFL Pro Bowls, all of those things take some level of risk in the deal. Hopefully you're good enough at it now and you understand it. You've built enough capacity of your own right. And I think a lot of those monetized assets we have in the stadium give us some cushion to be wrong. And then you're just aggressive. You're aggressive at going to book some things that you think will be helpful to our business model.
Do you have more leverage now because you've done so many things? Do you have more leverage in these contract talks with, say, a European soccer team or another entity to say, no, you've got to pick up X, Y, you've got to guarantee a minimum of X or Y. We don't want to take on so much risk.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's as much in leverage as much as it is experience to understand those things that you just described, right? It's like, look, I'm not doing this and nobody else is either. So here's what the deal looks like, and it's a good, fair deal. And you also build up a lot of credibility. I mean, we took some bloody noses coming out of COVID, and we had a couple COVID cases. And that particular year, Arsenal and Inter Milan both bailed on their charter within like 24 hours. And so we replaced those teams and still played a doubleheader, like a week later, coming out of COVID. And that hurt, but people said, well, wait a minute, if they could deal with that, you guys remember these countries were red and this one was yellow and trying to get visas and, here we got all those things done. It hurt, but what I know is most of the rest of those teams that we went and met with the next year, Chelsea included, were like, they know what they're doing. They've done this before. Look what they just did in the most extreme circumstances. And I think that's what you get more so than leverage. You have experience. You have an understanding of what it takes to do this. And those folks want to take risks, but not with people that don't know what they're doing at all. Right? They show up at a stadium. The stadium's not ready for them. They don't understand what they need from a training perspective. So I think it's more that experience than it is leverage.
So I'm looking at the 990 for 2023. I see about $17 million in revenue. Roughly how much of that is bowl games and how much of that is a lot of the other stuff that you're talking about here about international soccer and managing the stadium on site, et cetera?
It's a pretty good mix, honestly. If you look at that's one piece of our business you're probably referring to. I mean, we have 4 or 5 different 501c3 companies that aggregate together. It was about a $65 million business, a year ago. So as you can imagine, that takes a lot of it is soccer,
Sure.
A lot of it is Pop Warner, a lot of it is Florida Blue, Florida Classic, or the NFL Pro Bowl, or other, kind of third-party deals in the stadium. So I don't know that there's another company kind of like ours out there in this space. Now, there's pro teams that are doing college football bowl games. There's ESPN doing college football bowl games, and you don't have 990s for ESPN. So, not all of these things are made equal for sure. But we're pretty unique and different, I think, in that space. And I would say with our philanthropic investments, we are definitely unique and different. When you think about affecting an entity that created $120 million in capital investments in the poorest neighborhoods in Central Florida over the last 12 years is pretty innovative as well.
and then drilling down onto the bowl game specifically, ticket sales, sponsorships, and media, obviously, I imagine, are the 3 biggest income streams there. But what's the biggest there? Roughly, what does a revenue pie look like for a Pop-Tarts Bowl or a Cheez-Its Bowl?
I mean, look, we're proud that those 2 games, pay at the top or near the top of the entire postseason landscape outside of the CFP, and that's not easy to do, these days. It's hard, for games out there. I mean, if you're not losing money, you're working your butt off to break even. In our case, by the time you throw in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, the free hotel rooms for the teams and 5-star hotels and everything else starts to add to the payout. Our payouts are closer to $5 million probably when it's all said and done per team. That's robust when you look at the rest of the industry. And I think these games should be they should be revenue positive for these teams. You shouldn't be going to a game, and I know this is not popular, but it's not a charity anymore, and these should be revenue positive inputs into the system, and ours are. We're not hugely successful on bowl games financially, but if you can survive them and monetize those teams, if those teams can have a revenue positive event for having been here and get all that experience and opportunity, that's where we should be, and we can be there most years. Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, it's taken a long time. I'm sorry, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, it's taken a long time to get where we are, where you can almost break even, honestly, because we wanted to have ranked teams. It was important to us to have ranked winning teams. To do that, you got to pick first in the ACC and darn near the top of the Big 12, and that's what we do. We're second in the Big 12, and that, we're not getting a huge amount of travel always from every single one of those teams. I mean, it depends from one year to the next. Did they play in a championship game losing situation? Was it, what were the scenarios? But for the most part, it took us 10, 15 years to get that closer to break even.
How does that work, actually? How does a bowl game get priority or priority ranking in terms of how selection? Is it just a matter of payout? Is it something more? What's that process?
No, it's a payout and a negotiation with the league. I certainly you want to have a destination that people want to go to. I think that helps and matters. That these teams want to be in maybe a warm destination. A place where they and their fans and the kids are going to have some things to do while they're there for a few days. So we're blessed a little bit to have Universal and Disney and all these things and able to send players, the whole team, to a park day, cover the cost of that, do all these kind of things while we're here in the weather. And so that matters. It's not going to win you the first pick. But if it's close, I hope it makes a little bit of a difference. So it's money. You need to pay enough. You need to pay enough to have that choice. And in some cases, it's a pool of teams in that same pay slot having a negotiated pick. It's not necessarily a clearing away pick, but they'll get together and they'll figure it out with the league. So it's all. There's not one that I've seen that's unique, cookie cutter, the same. They're all kind of these days a very, very close collaboration with the league to go what's best for this particular team in which city. But ultimately, it's about the economics, and they need to make money for what they're doing, and that's what we've always worked hard to do.
Was Pop-Tarts on a 1 year? How long is Pop-Tarts naming deal?
It was a 1 year deal when we first did it. They extended for the end of this term, which is this year and next year, right? So it'd be 3 total years together when it's all said and done. And that, but you had to earn that. And again, you talk about risk. I mean, you risk being naked, if you will, a title sponsor in some given year. So if they don't renew and you can't replace at the same dollar amount, that stings a little bit.
Were those negotiations easy? I mean, obviously, the year one was a tremendous success for Pop-Tart. Walk us through.
Yeah. I'm curious if the number was already in the contract or if that was to be negotiated for 2 and 3.
It was already in the deal.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Steve.
Oh, we get 30% of everything they sell. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
It wasn't. But look, you can have up years and down years, and we always take the long view of these things, and the fact that it worked for them was huge payoff for us, but it made it a little easier to say, hey, what do you think? You want to do year 2, year 3 potentially? It could have went the other way, and we'd be out there looking for another title right now, but it worked out for us, and we did not get another bite at the negotiated apple, as they say. So
not yet.
Not yet.
It goes uber viral again in 2 years. You'll have
right.
You'll have all.
But it would only be prudent that you prepare for a brand to walk away. What does that look like for you? What space? Who looks at what you do and say, you know what, we want to be on the runway?
Yeah, we've had lots of them, as you say, walk away for different reasons. When you look at Cheez-It, for instance, Cheez-It had an interest in being involved in our Cheez-It Citrus Bowl should that opportunity had ever become available, and that's what happened here. The Citrus Bowl title sponsorship came open, and they wanted it. So we had a space in our agreement that said, should that ever happen, we'll let you have first crack at buying that title. So we backfilled with another one of their brands, which just ended up working out with Pop-Tarts. So there's a lot of risk in that, right? I mean, the fact they wanted to be in citrus, we had to be prepared to be out on the street and potentially not have anybody. But we're confident enough in what we do, how we work with people, all the way back through Capital One and Buffalo Wild Wings. When you look at all of these brands that we've had, these are CFP brands right now, and they're in the space. They're just in the space in the playoffs. So I think we've demonstrated that we'll deliver the numbers, that we're the kind of organization that's creative enough to achieve their goals. We have enough capacity. Our staff is structured, uniquely probably in the bowl space. We're a little bit bigger and more adept at dealing with some of these things, and we have a really great team, not afraid to say. And it's worked. So we feel confident if we're ever naked, a title that we're going to be able to figure it out before we kick off.
There's so much change, Steve, underway in college football right now. Some of them, I imagine, great for bowls like yours, some of them a bit more challenging. One of the things that seems challenging is the way the transfer portal opens up, and we're seeing more bigger name players not playing in postseason games than I think we probably ever have before. How does that look from your seat? Is there anything you can do, any push for you guys to get stars to keep playing in games, even if the last 2 weeks of the regular season didn't work out the way they wanted it to? I mean, how do you assess kind of the transfer portal and this new rash of the way players are approaching bowl games and how it affects you?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a really interesting time right now. I mean, opt-outs are not new. That's something that's been around for a while. Leonard Fournette, I remember years and years ago, that was an our bowl game, that opted out of the Citrus Bowl. And so it's the portal that's most insidious right now, and it is for everybody, not bowls, everybody in college football. And when you have free agency happening in the midst of a season, I mean, look at the kid that had to make a decision to be out of the playoffs for Penn State, not because he wanted to be, but he had no choice. If he wanted to get into the portal and take an opportunity at another school, he had to make that decision then, and they still had a playoff game to play. It's it's sad. So everybody wants the portal to be moved out of so that's step one. That will happen. It's just a matter now of when. So right now it's a mess until then, right? And so let's put that on the side for a second. Opt-outs, you look at Shedeur Sanders, you look at Travis Hunter playing in their bowl games. You look at Cam Ward playing here in the bowl game. Now maybe that's just one-offs, I don't know, but I do think that ebbs and flows. We had Alabama here against Michigan a number of years ago. Literally everybody played, and they were lock, stock first rounders.
I remember when Alabama used to be good in football. Oh, too soon? Too soon. Sorry, everybody.
They're still pretty doggone good. But I think, it's going to be exciting to see what happens when we get the House settlements and they make a decision on what it is. Is this an employee, still a student athlete? They're going to share the revenue. You know that either way. You're going to make these final determinations. And then does it start to look a little bit more like the NFL does, where you're getting game checks, you have your season, your NIL deal. If you're getting $20 million split as a program, how that gets distributed across maybe 15 games, that's what you're getting paid to do.
I would say, did you happen to notice the overnight numbers from the college games against the NFL? This
I
past
actually
couple of
haven't
days?
seen that yet.
They were closer than I think most would think and most would believe. And Eben and I for years have said, more so Eben, that sort of the big threat to the NFL would be college football. It's the number 2 sport that could become the number 1 sport.
It's certainly, and to do that, you have to continue to have a wide net in college football. I mean, if you whittle college football down to 60 teams, I think it'll still be strong, but I still think it's not as strong as if you are including all parts of our, the lower 48, if you will. They all need to be relevant, have an opportunity to be in it, making their way into this thing, but that's neither here nor there. I don't disagree with you. I also think, sports betting where it is today has probably begat as much of that level playing field as it wasn't all that long ago that was just kind of unheard of, right? That you'd be betting on these. Now you're betting on, college games, pro games, everything else. So you're not wrong. I think that there's opportunity there for it to be, if not equal, a real player on that stage.
Did the 12-team, the move to 12-team playoffs, did that change your approach at all? I've talked to some folks who think there's kind of more concentration of attention now on those 12 games. I've talked to other folks who think that having really meaningful games played on December 17th actually really does benefit everybody. But how does the 12-team shift impact you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you've been moving the bar down since we went from the coalition to the BCS, and you had 2 teams, then 4, now 12, right? And so that bar of, kind of impact to those bubble teams, if you will, is real. And so where before you were missing out, we haven't been picking in the top 12 for 10 years now. And we've had robust games, millions of viewers. High watermark was probably 15 million with Bama and Michigan, right? Those games are still there to be had as we move forward. But there's no question there's an impact. There's a difference. But I do think that how many there are relevant games, and there will be ratings, and we do need them to fill in those couple of weeks. It used to be if you were playing before Christmas, it was a failure, right, of some sorts. I'm being overly dramatic. There's great games, but you wanted to be post-Christmas.
I would call that the Pool and Weed Eater Bowl game, but just whatever.
It's a great game. Scott's he's killing me. But I think now, though, it's interesting to follow kind of where those slots are and how long you're off, right? So if you're preparing for a game that's used to be, we played on New Year's Day our whole career, now on the 31st, leading into the playoff, where we still believe, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl has always been the highest rated game in the country for the most part, year in and year out. We hope it continues to be, but I think to look ahead, it's going to be interesting to see how many of these games now can play in and around the opening weekend or proximate to that, and is there really a fall off? Now, if you're a coach, you're like, hey, I don't want to prepare for 3 weeks. A week is fine. I'll play my bowl game and off we go. And so I think that I'm looking for that evolution a little bit over the next year to see people's, kind of acceptance of what 20th through, the 23rd or 4th looks like, what 26th through the 31st looks like. It's always been really hard to make any sense of anything after Jan 1. And so, but you got a lot of bare space now between, the semis and going into a championship game. That's going to be hard to fill with bowl games, but I do think the market's going to tell us how many games you can have moving forward. I really think this next year and going into 26, how many title sponsors are there? How much does TV value this inventory at the right number to make this a profitable endeavor for the teams? That's going to dictate, really how many of these are. So I'm fascinated to see that. There's room for them. I just don't know how many.
All right, Steve Hogan, we'll get you out here on this. Is there a sports property that you'd like to lure that you haven't been able to get yet?
I wanted to have Army-Navy bad. We tried.
This is the answer. I've heard Army-Navy from Kevin Demoff and Anthony Noto at SoFi. Everybody says Army-Navy. They want Army-Navy.
We were on Army-Navy for a while before it was even cool, I guess, to be on Army-Navy. But we tried the first time, and they didn't go to a bid. This last time they went to a bid. So they were going to do 5 years, right? And I didn't think they were going to do what they did, which was 5 different cities in 5 years.
Right.
And I hope, and what I believe that meant was, look, there's a lot of people like Robert Kraft in New England and a few others that were banging on that door for a while and never had a game. And I just think they said, look, some people are in front of you guys. Charlotte went after it. We went after it. Heck, we had to put enough money on the table to fly the middies and cadets down here. I mean, we were like, we're going to solve that problem like the Rose Bowl in the 80s when they hosted Army-Navy. But I'd love to have that game. I think it'd be awesome. We're going to put a bunch of chips on the table for opening weekend games. We've had 4 good ones over the last 6 years. As we get into our renovation being done in 27, you look to us to slide some money on the table and pay top dollar for some premier kickoff games. We want to be dominant in that space if we can. Again, but Army-Navy for me would be a home run, and there's a bunch of others, but I'll start there.
All right. Well, Steve Hogan, CEO, Florida Citrus Sports. Thanks so much, my man.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Steve.
Still there, Harold?
I'll just do the outro here.
Yeah, well, yeah, just hold on.
All right, I'll get off. Guys, really great conversation.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Anytime a guy brings like a little energy and entertainment and understand, has got the numbers with it, it makes it good stuff.
No, you guys, good questions. Really flowed well. So thank you all. Let me leave you be. We'll keep in touch and happy holidays, and it'll be a great 25 for all of us.
You got it, my man.
We'll talk soon, Harold.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, I'll wrap her up here real quick. Coming in 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you to Steve, and happy holidays to everyone out there listening. He is Scott Soshnick. You can find him
when
on
it's
Twitter.
Time to change, you've got to
You can find me
rearrange
on Twitter
who you are and what you're gonna be.
Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na. Thank you for everything you do. Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na. Who runs Sportico Social Digital Media, would like you to know that you can follow the show at Sporticast, which is the hub of the Sportico Media Network.
Excellent.
Boom.
Boom and boom. Yeah.